will continue. We'll start with the handoff strategies. So when a mobile moves to a different cell while this call is in progress, the mobile switching center automatically transfers call to a new channel belonging to new base station. So this is the scenario. You are moving from under the control of one base station to another base station. So this control has to change has to be done. So identifying new base station and a voice and control channel to be allocated. So not just voice, control channel also has to be allocated under this base station. Most of the handoff strategies prioritize handoff request over call initiation request while allocating unused time, because someone is attempting to call means you don't get the call, so you can keep him waiting. So rather than that, they would prioritize ongoing call that should not be dropped. So prioritize handoff request over call initiation request. And this process must be imperceptible to users. Users should not be aware that they are going passing to a cell edge boundary and again going into another cell. So it should be not perceptible to the users. So the system designers must specify optimum signal level to initiate handoff. What level? So this signal level should be monitored, and there would be some pre-received signal minimum usable. So there is a lowest value, and before that there should be some level received signal at which you initiate handoff. So there is a margin, handoff margin. Before this lower level is reached, you should start at some level, power level, received power level, and this difference is called the handoff margin. However, if this delta is too large, always unnecessary handoff may occur. And if it is too small, insufficient time may be left to complete the handoff. So this has to be designed by the system designers. Optimum signal level to initiate handoff. So this is just an illustration. The received signal level with respect to time. So this is an improper handoff situation. So this at point A, you have some signal level, and the cell edge and it is crossing to another cell B. The signal level is keeping on decreasing. However, handoff that threshold level and minimum acceptable level, the signal level falls below that, and signal at a point B level at point B is so too low and call is terminated. Below that of the minimum acceptable signal to maintain a call, and this is a scenario of improper handoff. Whereas for a proper handoff at a particular level, you should initiate handoff and it should be successfully transferred to this base station. If some unused voice channel and an unused control channel should be allocated while the call is in progress. So this is a proper handoff situation. It should be the scenario. So by the time it reaches B, it would be under a set of channels in this group of base station 2, and the level is improving as it is approaching towards this BSP. So this is the proper handoff scenario. So in deciding handoff, we need to measure the signal level. The signal level could fall due to fading also because of the environment. So multiple reflected waves, and they are added in phase or out of phase, so that is called fading. If fading also, a drop in signal level could be there. So to prevent that, so could be because that the signal is the vehicle is moving from the sender to cell edge, or because of fading also. So to avoid that, the base station monitors signal level for a certain period of time before handoff is made, and the average signal level is taken. So the average signal level has to be taken for a certain amount of time, and that average signal should be monitored. And if the slope of the short-term average signal at a given time is steep, handoff should be made quickly. So the average is taken over a period of time to, to ensure that it is not due to fading. And that slope, the steepness will indicate how fast this subscriber is moving. So the steepness also is to be measured, and accordingly handoff should be made quickly. So in the first generation, all these were measurements were done and supervised by the so in first generation cellular, all these measurements of signal strength necessary for handoff was done by the mobile switching center. Whereas later on, mobile assisted handoff was initiated from second generation onwards. Mobile assisted handoff. Mobile station measures power from surrounding base stations and reports the result to serving base station. So rather than the mobile switching center measuring power of all mobiles, each mobile is measuring power from surrounding base station, and it will report the result to serving base station, which is called mobile assisted handoff. So handoff is initiated when power received from base station of a neighboring cell begins to exceed the power received from the current base station by a certain level for a certain period of time. So the scenario is this: you are moving from here center towards the edge and again entering this cell. So the base station, mobile station is measuring power and giving the results to the serving base station, and that power changes are noted, signal changes are noted, average level over a certain period of time. So during a call, if a mobile moves from one cellular system, so this is another scenario, inter-system handoff. So one system may be using CDMA, another may be using GSM. In that case, it is called inter-system handoff. During a call, if a mobile moves from one cellular system to a different cellular system controlled by a different MSC, an inter-system handoff is formed. So that is the basic scenario of handoff. So you start handoff at some level and above the minimum acceptable level. So that margin is called the handoff margin. So you need to monitor the signal level. Before this minimum usable signal is reached, you start at a handoff level, which is at a margin, and properly you can allocate a control channel as well as a voice channel to the new base station, and the signal by the time it reaches B would have improved. Otherwise, improper handoff situation is this is not taking place and signal falls. It is still under the control of this base station 1. When it reaches B and the signal falls below the minimum acceptable level and it is getting terminated. Now, we need to look at interference and system capacity. So last class I told we need to improve the capacity so that we can accommodate more users, more subscribers, within a given cell. However, the limiting factor in this performance or capacity is interference. Interference occurs because you have neighboring cells, the sources of interference, another mobile in same cell, within the same cell, or call in progress in neighboring cell, or other base station operating in same frequency band, or any non-cellular system, some other system producing some signal, or a signal from a base station which is operating at the same frequency band. So we'll concentrate on this aspect. The band of frequency A, which is again used in another base station. This is the main cause of interference. All other causes exist like some other mobile in same frequency cell. This hard and fast allocation is not practical. There will be the bandwidth of the filter may not be exactly pass band and stop band like that. So there will be some transition, etc. So there could be some interference from other mobiles and call in progress in neighboring cell, etc. So these are sources of interference. So all these are considering the voice channel. Again, on the control channel also interference can come. Control channels are used for initiation, for monitoring, for management purpose. So interference in a control channel may lead to missed and blocked calls due to errors. Signaling errors could be there. So this is what we think is the interference in voice channel. In addition, there could be interference in the control channel as well. So, however, we will consider the basic interference in this scenario. Say you are having a cell with some set of frequencies called A. Then B, C, D, E, F, or G all are here. Again, A is coming here, A is coming here. Set of frequencies. So there are, for n equal to 7, there are six sides are there in hexagon. 6 A's in the first time at a distance of capital D. You can tell capital D from here, from the center of this. If it is at this end, there is a radius of this cell. So D plus R from here, or on the average D from center of this cell at a distance of D, there would be 6 4-channel interfering cells for n equal to 7. So we are doing frequency reuse. So a set of frequency A is used here, B, C, D, E, F, G is there surrounding. Again A, B, C, D, F, G is there. So these are all clusters. So there are 6 neighboring clusters, and all neighboring clusters, the same set of frequency are repeated here, and they are a source of interference called 4-channel interference. Cells that use the same set of frequency are 4-channel cells. Interference between signals from these cells are called 4-channel interference. So let us assume cells are same, size are same, radius is same. Base station transmit the same power in each cell. So to define a cell, some transmit power has to be there, and that is same, so that the radius are same. So if the radius has to be same, the base station transmit power has to be same. Then 4-channel interference. So CCI is the 4-channel interference abbreviation. Is function of radius of the cell and distance between centers of nearest 4-channel cells. So how much interference will be there to this cell from a neighboring cell which is at a distance capital D from the center of this cell depends upon this distance D as well as this radius R, D by R. So that is the parameter which is affecting it, influencing the 4-channel interference. So that is given as a notation Q, and D by R can be computed as root of 3n for a hexagonal geometry. So for I and j, there are equation I square plus ij plus j square. So when both are 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, all these are the size of n. And the ratio of capital D by R, which is Q, is given by this one. So നമ്മൾ n 13 ആണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഡിസ്റ്റൻസ് കൂടുതൽ d by r കൂടുതൽ, അതായത് d by r കൂടുതലാണ്. അപ്പോൾ കോച്ചാല ഇൻഡക്റ്റൻസ് കുറവായിരിക്കും. They are far away. The farther it is, the cochalar inductance will be less. So when mobile is at cell boundary, ഇത് ഒരു ബൗണ്ടറിയിലാവുമ്പോഴാണ് ഇൻഡക്റ്റൻസ് കൂടുതലാവുമ്പോൾ സെൻട്രലാവുമ്പോൾ ഇൻഡക്റ്റൻസ് കുറവായിരിക്കും. ഇത് എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് വേഴ്സ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റേജ് co-channel inductance on forward channel. Mark distances between mobile and different co-channel cells are approximated for easy analysis. So you can do an analysis based on this. So let us find the signal to inductance ratio. So we are talking about crystal capacity whose performance is limited by inductance. Inductance means the same set of frequency used in neighboring cells. So there are first tier cells, 6 numbers. There could be second tier cells, but those are far away. The inductance is very much less. So basically, it's from the first tier of cell. So let I naught be the number of co-channel interfering cells. For n equal to 7, it will be 6. It will not be 7 always. It can be 12 or 13. So let I naught be the co-channel interfering cells. Then signal to interference ratio, SI or SIR. Signal ratio is not noise, it is interference. SIR for a mobile receiver which monitors a forward channel can be expressed as the signal power divided by summation of interferences from I equal to 1 to I naught, where there are I naught interfering cells. First cell, second cell, അങ്ങനെ 6 സെല്ലിൽ നിന്നുമുള്ള ഇൻഡക്റ്റൻസ് ആഡ് ചെയ്യണം. അത് that is in the denominator, and signal power is from the base station of that cell to the for that mobile, and this is the interference power SIR. So there is a mobile here, so it is getting power, signal power from the base station here, as well as interference power at same frequency from the first tier or channel cells. I naught in number. Now SIR, so consider EI is the distance of ith interferer from the mobile. So distance depends upon the location of this mobile actually. So let DI be the distance of the ith interferer. There are 6 interfering cells. So D1, D2 like that, D6 is the distance. The received power at a given mobile due to ith interfering cell will be proportional to DI raised to minus n. ഇവിടെ നിന്നൊരു പവർ ഇവിടെ ഇന്റർഫിയർ ചെയ്യുന്നെങ്കിൽ ഒരു നോർമലി നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന സ്ക്വയർ ലോ, ഇൻവേഴ്സ് സ്ക്വയർ ലോ ആയിട്ടുള്ള പവർ വേരിയേഷൻ ആണ്. ഇതിന്റെ പവറിന്റെ എഫക്ട് ഇത്രയും ഡിസ്റ്റൻസിൽ ഇവിടെ വരുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ആ കേസിൽ n 2 ആണ്, DI raised to minus 2 അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 1 by DI square, ഡിസ്റ്റൻസ് സ്ക്വയർ ആണ്. നോർമൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫ്രീ സ്പേസ് പാത്ത് ലോസ് DI സ്ക്വയർ ആണ്. പക്ഷേ ഒരു മൊബൈൽ സിനാരിയോയിൽ ആ 2 n ഈക്വൽ ടു 2 പാത്ത് ലോസ് എക്സ്പോണന്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സെക്കൻഡ് ഓർഡറിലാണ് ആ പാത്ത് പവർ കുറയുന്നത് ഫോർ ഫ്രീ സ്പേസ്. പക്ഷെ ഒരു മൊബൈൽ സിനാരിയോയിൽ മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ കോപ്പീസ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ഈ മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ കോപ്പീസ് ആഡ് ചെയ്യും. ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ദി unguided media, there will be reflections, refraction, diffraction from the environment, buildings, trees, hills, all these things, and there will be addition of signals which can be in phase or out of phase, and hence the path loss exponent is larger than 2, and it can be 2, 2.1, 2.56, 3.674. അങ്ങനെ പല പാത്ത് ലോസ് എക്സ്പോണന്റ് വരാം. അത് നമ്മൾ എംപിരിക്കൽ സ്റ്റഡീസിലൂടെ നമുക്കത് പ്രൂവ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. പാത്ത് ലോസ് എക്സ്പോണന്റ് 2 അല്ല. അപ്പൊ ഡിസ്റ്റൻസ് വെച്ചിട്ട് di raised to minus n, where n is greater than 2. Normally, for an urban scenario, there may be some average power. അങ്ങനെ പല സിനാരിയോസിലും പല പാത്ത് ലോസ് എക്സ്പോണന്റ് പല സ്റ്റഡീസ് വെച്ച് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടാകും. ബിറ്റ്വീൻ 2 and 4. സോ ഈ പവർ ലോസ് ഇസ് ലാർജർ ഇൻ എ മൊബൈൽ സിനാരിയോ. സോ ദിസ് ഇന്റർഫിയറിംഗ് പവറുകളുടെ സമ്മാണ്. ആ ഇന്റർഫിയറിംഗ് പവർ di raised to minus n. However, if we consider the distance to be equal, so di raised to minus n, 6 പേരുടെ ഇന്ന് വരുന്ന I0 into di raised to minus n ആയിട്ട് അപ്രോക്സിമേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം ഫോർ എ സിംപ്ലിസിറ്റി. അപ്പൊ ഈ സിഗ്നൽ പവർ ഒരു സെൽ എഡ്ജിൽ r raised to minus n, സിഗ്നൽ പവർ അതുപോലെ വിത്തിൻ ദ സെൽ. അപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ ഇവിടെ റിസീവ്ഡ് സിഗ്നൽ ഈ ബേസ് സ്റ്റേഷൻ ഇവിടെയാണ്. ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് ഈ റേഡിയസ് 6 വരെയുള്ള ഡിസ്റ്റൻസിൽ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ di si raised to minus n. അപ്പൊ അത് ആർ ആ ഡിസ്റ്റൻസിന് പ്രൊപ്പോർഷണലാണ്. ഈ ആറിന് 1/r raised to n ആയിട്ടാണ് ഈ പവർ കുറയുന്നത്. ബേസ് സ്റ്റേഷനിൽ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന പവർ, ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന പവർ d raised to n ആയിട്ടാണ്. ഒരു അപ്രോക്സിമേഷൻ എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ വേണ്ടുന്ന സിഗ്നല് r raised to minus n, ബാക്കി ഇന്റർഫിയറിംഗ് di എല്ലാം ഒന്നായിട്ട് നമുക്ക് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്യാം, d ആയിട്ട് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്യാം. അപ്പൊ d raised to minus n, അങ്ങനെ 6 എണ്ണം ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ I0 എണ്ണം ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ d/r raised to minus n. d/r നമ്മൾ നേരത്തെ ഇവിടെ 2 എന്ന് നമ്മൾ കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, √3/n. ഇത് ഹെക്സഗണൽ ജോമെട്രിക്കുള്ള d/r. The interference is dependent on d/r. So d/r raised to n, മുകളിലേക്ക് വരുമ്പോൾ d/r raised to n വരും. അത് √3n raised to n. So this is the final equation, approximate equation for signal to interference ratio for a first tier interfering cells which are I0, and n is the cluster size, and the small n is the path loss exponent, which is more than 2 for a mobile scenario. ഇവിടെ ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. If signal to interference ratio 15 dB അത്രയെങ്കിലും വേണം, required for satisfactory forward channel performance of cell, has to be more than 15 dB. Signal to interference. What is the frequency reuse factor and cluster size that should be used for maximum capacity? So always the objective is to have maximum capacity, and accordingly what should be this cluster size. If path loss exponent somehow in that geography they have found they are considering evaluating cases of n equal to 4 and n equal to 3. നമ്മുടെ ഫ്രീ സ്പേസിൽ n 2 ആണ്. Assume that there are 6 co-channel cells in the first pair, and all of them are at the same distance from the mobile. Use suitable approximation. So path loss exponent 4 ആയിട്ടുള്ള കേസും path loss exponent 3 ആയിട്ടുള്ള കേസും. അപ്പോൾ അതിൽ നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം ഒരു 7 സെൽ റീയൂസ് പാറ്റേൺ എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അതിന് നമ്മൾ d/r ഈ ടേബിളിലൂടെ കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. d/r ആണ് നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടത് ഈ സിഗ്നൽ ടു ഇൻഡക്റ്റൻസ് റേഷ്യോ 4.58 കൊടുത്തു. അപ്പം അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ സിഗ്നൽ ടു ഇൻഡക്റ്റൻസ് റേഷ്യോ d/r raised to small n by I0 into 6, you will get this value, and you will get a signal to interference ratio of this much dB, and this dB is higher than the minimum required value, and so this can be used, n equal to 7 can be used. However, when the path loss exponent is 3, the same thing, when you calculate you get instead of 4 you get 3 here, and the signal to interference ratio becomes only this much. So this, when path loss exponent is 3, the signal to interference ratio is below that of 15 dB, so we need to use larger N. Next value of n is 12. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ n I j values വെച്ചാൽ 7 കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ കിട്ടുന്നത് 12 ആണ്. 1 2 കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ 2 2 ഇടാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ പിന്നെ 12 വോൾട്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഇത് യൂസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടി വരും. സോ ദി ചോയ്സ് ഓഫ് n becomes 12. ഈ 12 കൊടുക്കുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് d/r റേഷ്യോ ഇത്രയും കിട്ടുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പോൾ ന്യൂമറേറ്റർ ഇംപ്രൂവ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ dB കൂടിയിട്ട് ഇതിന് 15-ന് മുകളിൽ കിട്ടും. അപ്പോൾ n 12 യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ ഈ കേസ്. So these are some planning for based on some data, some data available on path loss exponent, on interference, etc. They will choose the number of cells in a cluster. We just talk about this also. So interference അടുത്ത interference adjacent channel interference. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മളൊരു സെല്ല് എ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ബി സി ഡി ഇ എഫ് എല്ലാം വേറെ ഫ്രീക്വൻസിയാണ്. നമ്മൾ അങ്ങനെയാണ് ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പിന്നെ വീണ്ടും എ വരുമ്പോഴാണ് സെയിം ഫ്രീക്വൻസി വരുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ ഈ ബി സി ഡി ഇ എഫ് എന്നുള്ള അഡ്ജസൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സെൽസ്, അതേ ക്ലസ്റ്ററിൽ തന്നെയുള്ള അഡ്ജസൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സെല്ലിൽ നിന്നും ഇന്റർഫറൻസ് വരാം. അത് അത്രയും പ്രോമിനൻ്റ് ആയിരിക്കില്ല. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് അഡ്ജസൻ്റ് ചാനൽ ഇന്റർഫറൻസ്. ഇതിൽ ഡെറിവേഷൻ ഒന്നുമില്ല, അതിൽ വെറുതെ ഒരു വാട്ട് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഇന്റർഫറൻസ് റിസൾട്ടിങ് ഫ്രം സിഗ്നൽസ് വിച്ച് ആർ അഡ്ജസൻ്റ് ഇൻ ഫ്രീക്വൻസി ടു ഡിസൈഡ് സിഗ്നൽ. This adjacent channel interference results from imperfect receiver filter which allow nearby frequency to leak into passband. നമ്മൾ എപ്പോഴും ഒരു സെറ്റ് ഓഫ് ഫ്രീക്വൻസി കൊടുത്തിട്ട് വേറെ ചാനൽ വേറെ സെറ്റ് ഓഫ് ഫ്രീക്വൻസി അതെല്ലാം ഐഡിയൽ ആയിട്ട് അസ്യൂം ചെയ്യുന്നു. പക്ഷെ ആ ഫിൽറ്ററുകളിലെല്ലാം അവിടെയെല്ലാം ഫിൽറ്ററുകൾ ഉണ്ടാവും, പാസ് ബാൻഡ് അതെല്ലാം ഇംപെർഫെക്റ്റ് ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ അതിലൊരു ട്രാൻസിഷൻ ഉണ്ടാവും. അപ്പോൾ there will be some frequencies leaking into pass band etc. Can be particularly serious if adjacent channel user is transmitting in a very close range to subscribers receiver. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ ഒരു സെല്ലിൻ്റെ എഡ്ജിലാണ് മറ്റേ യൂസർ മറ്റേ സെല്ലിൻ്റെ നമ്മുടെ എഡ്ജിൻ്റെ സൈഡിലാണെങ്കിൽ അത് വളരെ ക്ലോസ് റേഞ്ചിലായിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ അതൊരു സീരിയസ് ഇഷ്യൂ ആവാം. So adjacent channel interference can be minimized through careful filtering. The solution is filtering and channel assignment. So while assigning channel, each cell is given only fraction of available channels. A cell need not be assigned channel adjust. Always you need not follow this very adjacent frequency. By keeping frequency separation between each channel in a given cell as large as possible. Only possible remedy is to have some separation between channels, not very close by. So this also occurs. Adjacent channel interference also is there apart from 4-channel interference. And this slide I just put just one slide. This is not dependent on interference. There is a power control mechanism to reduce interference. So power level transmitted by every subscriber unit are under constant control by serving base station. So at what power level you should transmit. So always there is a question of interference. In the ISM band also there is a question of interference. So always there will be some regulation as to the EIRP, how much power you can transmit. So in cellular system, the base station will control the power. This is done to ensure that each mobile transmits at the smallest power necessary to maintain a good quality link on the reverse channel is from the mobile to base station. So power control not only helps prolong battery life for the subscriber use, but also dramatically reduces the reverse channel signal to interference ratio in this case. As much as power is required for successful communication, only that much power we need to transmit. Uh, Transmitting higher power causes interference to others. So there is power control mechanism as well.